Hello, Integrated Nursing Pathway applicants. Thank you so much for completing the interview process. I truly hope that you enjoyed the process and getting to know some of the other applicants. My name's Amy Sturrock, and I am an academic advisor in the CU College of Nursing, and we're based at the Anschutz Medical Campus. I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through next steps and hopefully answering some of the questions you have about the program. So let's get started. In terms of next steps, what everybody wants to know first is, when will I know if I've been admitted? So our goal is to have decisions out to students by July 1st and look for decisions by email. And we typically send all the decisions to students on the same date with regard to those students who've been admitted, as well as students that may have been waitlisted or put on the alternate list for the program, and for those who applications may have been denied. So we do try to send all those out in the same period of time, just so you know where you stand. And as an update to the academic update process that I have already sent out to students, I just wanted to remind students, as I think now all spring 2021 course grades have posted, go ahead and please request an updated official transcript to be sent to NursingCast on your behalf. And you will do this the same way that you requested transcripts when you first submitted an application. So go back in and log back into your application. And within the academic history settings heading, go to colleges attended and follow the steps to order your transcripts from there. And please just go back in then after May 27th and update your grades in the transcript entry section. We would like to have the academic update completed no later than June 14th. And essentially that means your updated transcript is posted and you have updated your spring 2021 grades so that we're ready for the final review process. We have not yet set the date for orientation for new students, but this typically happens the first to second week of August. And as soon as we have that information, I'll send it out to students. My assumption is that orientation will be virtual this year, but we are still determining the date and the format. And again, so as soon as I have those details, I'll send it out. For the students that may have disclosed misdemeanor or felony convictions as part of the NursingCast application, I will reach out individually if any further information is needed for applicants for that process. And then I also encourage students to review policies and guidelines for the program. And these should be posted on the community college where you've applied through, so CCA, CCD, or Red Rocks in Arvada. And then I've also included the link to our College of Nursing student handbook in the email where this video link was included. So please review the policies and the guidelines for the program. So in terms of the logistics of the program, for those of you that are admitted, the next year will be spent in your community college, so fall of 2021 as well as spring of 2022. And then students who meet the academic standards will transition to the College of Nursing and join the traditional pathway program in early June of 2022. And that means you'll have a graduation date of late May of 2024, as our program is 24 months. Also note that we do require 4 days of orientation the week right before classes start. Our total cohort size on the Anschutz Medical Campus is approximately 180 students, and roughly a third, so 60 of the students that we will start next summer will come from the Integrated Nursing Pathway. And that's a combination of the students from the CCA, CCD, and the Red Rocks Arvada cohorts. And then we'll add to that all the students admitted directly who have applied to the traditional pathway program. And I know that that number sounds large, the 180 student cohort, but please know that our class sizes will never be that large. We typically split our course sections into 2 to 3 sections. So you would not have a class of 180 students total. And in terms of clinical requirements, clinicals are really the heart of nursing education. And you'll do a combination of what we consider on-site clinicals as well as off-site clinicals. On-site clinicals refer to those clinicals that are done in simulation or in our clinical skills lab on the Anschutz Medical Campus. And then offsite clinicals refer to any clinicals you do in live patient settings. And, our goal pre-COVID is always to get as many hours as we can for our students in live patient settings. The last year has been challenging, as you can probably imagine, due to COVID. But we're hoping that by summer of 2022, once this cohort would begin on the Anschutz campus, that things will have normalized a bit and we'll be able to increase our number of live patient clinicals. But our goal is always thinking about our student safety and patient safety. So we will provide much more details about the clinical requirements as we get closer to starting next year. And then in terms of the transition to CU, our program is a total of 65.5 semester credits, and that includes the combination of classroom work as well as clinical rotations. And as I mentioned, the program is 24 months and goes straight through summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. And while there will be some short breaks between semesters, please note that clinical rotations may sometimes be assigned during the times that are essentially quote unquote class breaks. So there have been times when after a fall semester, medical surge clinicals had to extend into late December, early January if something happened during the fall. That was a trigger for extending those clinicals. But our clinical team does their best to make sure students are aware of expectations and what will be coming up with clinicals. And after those 6 semesters at the College of Nursing, students receive a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree, and then that allows students to sit for NCLEX, which is the board exam to become certified as a registered nurse. In terms of the structures of the clinical requirements, I mentioned earlier that students will do a combination of on-site clinicals and off-site clinicals. Although students will definitely be doing a significant amount of clinical hours on the Anschutz Medical Campus, we do also have clinical partners all along the Front Range. So it may be possible that students have clinicals as far south as Colorado Springs and all the way up to Loveland or Fort Collins potentially. So we do want to make sure students are aware that reliable transportation is required for the program. Some other things to consider. First and foremost, the program expectations. Your schedules are prescribed throughout the program, and that would be for the next 3 years, including your time in the community college as well as the last 2 years at CU. So everything in your life, whether it might be your work, any other family commitments, just anything else, your leisure activities, your hobbies, everything kind of needs to fit around the prescribed schedule. And that's down to, we tell you exactly when you take your courses, and what days you take your courses, which sections you register for, and when and where you'll do all your clinical rotations. And so you never have to worry about planning anything. It's just you also cannot change anything. So those are the kind of the pros and cons of that system. And then in terms of the academic requirements, for those students that are admitted, we do require students to maintain a 3.0 prerequisite GPA, and that includes all the classes you'll take in the coming year. And those are combined with the 9 prerequisites that you had to get ready for the application. And we require a minimum C grade in each course along the way. And in terms of the exemption policy for INP courses already completed, so for the review of applications, we're not counting those courses against applicants in terms of this coming cycle, in terms of if you've had INP 1 and 2, for instance, or maybe you've had INP 1 in microbiology. However, please note, if you're admitted to the program, you may only exempt 1 course in the fall and 1 course in the spring. So let me give you an example. If you've already completed successfully INP 1 and microbiology, those are both fall courses in the Integrated Nursing Pathway program, and you will only be able to exempt 1 of those. 1 of the courses will have to be repeated. Okay, so if you've taken a lot of courses that are required in that fall or spring of the upcoming year, really be thinking about if this is the best program for you, because that's extra time and money that you'll be spending in terms of the program. And also maybe check with your financial aid counselor, because sometimes financial aid does not cover courses that you've successfully completed in the past. So we just always want students to be thinking about those things. In terms of the importance of balance, we really try to encourage our students to think about the reality of your life at this point and to make sure this is a good time to be pursuing nursing school. Think about your family commitments. Think about whether or not you need to work while you're in the program. And, you know, in terms of work, a lot of our students do work. And what we try to recommend is no more than 12 to 15 hours of work a week. And some students find they can manage that, and some students find that they need to work more to be able to support themselves or their families. And I can tell you, oftentimes, these lead to difficult decisions for students when they have to decide whether they want to drop the program or maybe take a leave of absence if they get out of balance and they can't be successful. And what we don't want to happen is that students don't communicate issues until they've dug themselves into a hole that may be difficult to get out of. So really, please think realistically about what your life will look like in this next year and to determine if you'll be able to make school a priority. You know, we want students to be successful. That is our goal. But we also want to make sure that you're also thinking about the balancing your life and self-care along the way. And, you know, lots of times when INP students have faced obstacles in the past, it's because they've gotten out of balance. You know, it may be because they're having some personal or financial issues. Maybe there's issues with loved ones, or they're having health challenges, or they're having to work too much. You know, we want to be able to have those discussions with you before they become serious issues. And just to talk about your options, there is a leave of absence policy for students in our program, but the catch is students have to be in good academic standing to take advantage of that leave of absence. So please communicate with me, communicate with your community college advisor, with your faculty members, just so we can try to figure out how to help you in this process. In terms of finances and the cost of the program, in terms of our tuition on the CU side, effective with the fall 2021 semester, our tuition is going up just slightly. For the past 3 years, it's been $437 per credit, and now the tuition will be $445 beginning this fall, and that is per credit hour. And that assumes that you are a Colorado resident in the CU system and that you also receive college opportunity funding. And so the one thing that we always want to point out is to think about your residency status and how your residency status may be viewed at CU. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a moment. But just going over this basic calculation, since our program is 65.5 credits, that times 445 is just over 29,000 for the base tuition cost of the program. The first year of the program that you're spending at the community college, you'll have to check with your community college advisor to see what the costs are for that portion of the program. This is just referring to the last 2 years when you'd be with us at CU. So getting back to that residency and tuition classification process, how you're determined to be a resident in the community college may be different than how we view residency and tuition classification at CU. This is a really important thing to consider because within our system, students, unless they're emancipated or potentially married, the students are their residency is based on their parents' location until they are at least 22 years old. And then that year between being 22 and 23 would be when the earliest time students can start that 12-month accrual to be eligible for for in-state residency at CU. So if you happen to get in-state residency at CCD, for example, but your parents live out of state, let's say maybe you're 20 years old, I can pretty much guarantee you that you're going to get out-of-state tuition at CU. And that non-resident rate currently is almost $1,000 a credit, which is substantially different than the in-state tuition. So what I will do is also I will include the link to the residency page when I'm sending this email out to students with this link for the video. Please spend some time looking at it. And if you've got any questions, let me know and I can refer you to the tuition classification officer at CU, because we don't want there to be any surprises in terms of how you may be classified for residency for our side of the program. Other program costs to include would be books, supplies, student fees, lab fees, or some fees associated with clinicals. There's also the cost of health insurance if you don't have adequate coverage off campus. So, all these sorts of things are things you want to be considering in determining if this is the best time for you to go into nursing school. And also note that tuition costs may increase each year. So the rate of 445 is the current cost, and that will be the cost for the next 3 semesters for fall of 2021, spring of 2022, as well as summer of 2022. And so summer of 2022 will be the first semester you'd be a CU student as part of this integrated nursing pathway program. But just know that tuition could go up effective for fall of 2022. So you definitely want to submit your FAFSA early each year. FAFSA opens October 1st, and that is for the following academic year. And as you probably know, the FAFSA year includes fall, spring, summer. That is the rotation, and then a new FAFSA year starts each fall. And so be prepared, be thinking about your life circumstances, be thinking about all sorts of funding. And for CU, our students are not eligible for funding from the CU Denver downtown campus. However, we do have a link to external scholarships out on our website for the CU College of Nursing. And we also do have a competitive process for donor-funded awards in the College of Nursing, but the earliest you will be eligible to complete that application would be typically sometime next April. So you've got about a year until you'd be able to do that. In the meantime, I always encourage students to be thinking about the funding sources in the community college for the next fall and spring semesters. So that is the end of my presentation. And if you've got additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. My phone number is there. And although we're still working remotely due to COVID, I get my messages through email. And then you could also certainly feel free to just send an email to my address. We can always set up an individual time to talk if you've got questions that have not been answered. And again, I want to say thank you for your interest in the program and for completing the interview process. Have a great day.